I would like to warn all of you, our purpose is to give you a good training so that you can be a good researcher, better researcher. So please don't learn something, copy and paste. This is very, very detrimental. Rather than being a good researcher, you will turn into something in something very detrimental way, because this may damage your career. As you know, the copy and paste. So these are plagiarism. These are unethical practice. So I strongly encourage you, don't learn something unethical way. Okay, that is copy and paste. Those are the most wrong things, very, very bad things. So these are some of the slides also you will find in our YouTube, where how to write a paper. Actually, basically same thing I have taken. There is no much differences, so I have taken from everything from there. So how to write a good title. This title is basically readers what your paper is all about. It should be short and relevant to the subject matter. Don't write too long, and it should be relevant to the subject matter. So that's why how it can be relevant to the subject matter and short, I will share you some of my experience so that it can make it a better title, and it is in line with the content of your proposal, and also attracts readers' attention. So when we publish paper, actually if title is attractive, it will attract readers, and as a result, they will read your paper, and at the end, they can cite your paper. I think that is important. That citation, we call it usefulness indicator, meaning that other people found your paper is useful and they will cite you. I think that's a tremendous value in academia. And also be specific. Sometimes don't write it too general. Avoid jargon and abbreviations. For example, mathematical formula, chemical formula, all those actually will distract readers to read your paper, because only you know. If you are chemist, you know. If you are mathematician, only you know. But our purpose is to for wider audience, so that many other people can read and can understand. So this is my experience, basically, how I practice with my students when they are going to develop their title for paper and for thesis as well. So I would suggest to come out with 8 to 10 keywords. So for example, in this case, you are going to write a proposal. So you read some of the literatures. Okay, so you have some knowledge. So you know the overall content of your proposal. Okay, so based on that, you come out with 8 to 10 keywords. From the 8 to 10 keywords, you may feel that some of the keywords are very weak. So you eliminate them, you filter them. You keep maybe 4 to 5 strong keywords. And then you join them and make 3 or 4 titles. And from there, maybe you can discuss something with your prospective supervisors or some of your seniors. As I mentioned, when I was facing difficulties, so I started to talk with some of the seniors. And as a result, finally, I managed to develop my proposal. And this is how I practice with my students. So I asked them to come out with this way. And finally, they gave me 3 titles. And from the 3 titles, basically, I know their content. I'm involved with their work, and I will provide my input. And finally, I will prepare a better title. But in your case, you don't need to be that much serious. At least you try your best to write a better title. Also, when you read literature, you see how titles are written. I'm sure that by seeing a title, you will feel that this title is better than that. So again, the self-learning, self-thinking is also very, very important, because everything cannot be taught by others. You need to learn by yourself also. You need to think also critically. You need to think also intelligently. Okay, so this is how I develop title, and you can practice particularly with the keyword and write a better title. So these are some of the challenges I face with my students, those who are new. Sometimes title is too long. It is not attractive and appealing, contain a lot of mathematical jargon. As I mentioned, this will not entice potential readers, and your supervisor also may not be interested with that. Too general, too specific, does not reflect the content. So this is very important. So your title should reflect the content, because you have prepared, so you know the whole content, so it should reflect. So that's why if you follow this procedure, bring a few keywords, and from there you scrutinize, you filter, and then you develop the title. I hope this way you can write a better title. Yeah, examples of a good title. So this is just an example. So when you will read the literature, also have an impression that how this title will look like. So how will be my title? So you can borrow some of the word basically from all those titles as well. Okay, so this is one example. So I'm working in this area. To me, I think this is a very interesting title, and this will entice me to read, to go through the whole papers, and probably I also will cite this paper. So now I'm moving towards introduction or background information. So in the proposal, you can basically write either introduction or background information. This is basically to provide context to convince readers that you clearly know why your work is important. Basically, the aim, purpose, why your work is important. That is basically the introduction. The question of answering the why your work is important. Clearly know why your work is important. The introduction section should contain brief statement of need. Again, it is same thing. It is the need for the investigation, the purpose of the investigation, why this paper is important, why your proposal is important, why this topic is important. Okay, and review up-to-date literature and specific objectives. So literature review is very important. When we write paper, thesis, normally in the thesis there are separate section that contains literature review. But when you write a proposal, you may not need to put that extensive amount of work in the separate section as a literature. So as long as you put the introduction, background information, it should be okay. But you need to support with the literature. Okay, so up-to-date review, up-to-date. Up-to-date meaning is for last 4 or 5 years. So now we are in 2021. So let's say from 2015 until 2021. Within this period, if you have measured 80% of your references literature, that will be fine. Of course, you can take older references, maybe few, that's fine. But majority should be up-to-date literature. Okay, and with the specific objectives. I'll show you how to write also objectives in a clear, concise way. I'll give you some of the examples along with my experiences and so on. This section should reflect the originality, uniqueness, novelty, how it differs from others. This is basically for writing original paper, high quality original paper. Since you are not writing paper, you are writing a proposal, and for your case, it will be very, very difficult to highlight the originality, uniqueness. But my intention is to give you information so that in future, probably you know what is the originality, what is the uniqueness, what is the novelty. Because without this novel work, actually, you cannot pursue your master's and PhD. This is very, very important if you want to be a prolific researcher, if you want to be a world-class researcher. So this is very, very challenging task. Without originality, actually, your paper cannot be published in high-quality journals. So that's why your master's thesis also cannot be accepted without this novelty, originality. But when you are going to write a proposal, it will be probably very, very hard for you. You may not be much worried as long as proposal is up to certain level of standard. It should be fine. But with this, I think when you will start your research, definitely it will help you to identify what is the originality, what is the novelty. And also, you will find a lot of content, a lot of materials I share in LinkedIn and Facebook, how to address novelty. So at the end, I'll show you also that I'm also active in YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. As you know, that I always share my experience with younger researcher, early career researcher, and with also those who are also experienced. Because many times something comes in my mind, I immediately share for the benefit of scientific community. Okay, so this point, how to address the originality, I think this is not that important for you. But if you want to be a good researcher, prolific researcher, as I mentioned, you watch some of my videos that has been downloaded, that has been uploaded in Sabir's website, in YouTube channel. So how to write original paper, how to write review paper, and so on. Many things actually I have presented, and all those things are already there. That's why I mentioned earlier also, if you want to be a good researcher, every day you need to spend some time. Okay, maybe half an hour, 1 hour to be familiar with the research component, research knowledge. So a lot of useful informations are already there. You can read them. You can watch all those slides uploaded in YouTube. definitely that will help you, because as I mentioned, those are based on my 23 years of experience. Okay, so now how to write, this is the better way, okay, because you are new. So when I was doing my master's, PhD, so when I submitted my thesis, my supervisor said that thesis writing is not good. So then at that time, I was not well trained. Actually, I was never trained how to write a good paper. Just, you know, some brief help, small help. And basically, I learning by myself. So, you know, these are the problems. If there is no proper guideline, actually, it is very difficult for the students. These are the reasons also students come, or students work with some potential supervisors, because they are the experience. So they will share their experiences. So this should be the role of the university. This should be the role of the supervisors to share, to train, motivate their students so that they know how to write introduction, how to write abstract, how to write titles, and so on. So I face difficulties, and then because of you know, I need to solve that problem. So I learned by myself, and later on I started to give these types of talk, and I also learned, and as a result, I know that what should be. And as you know, the more than 500 papers I have published, so now I know what should be the content of abstract, what should be the content of introduction, and so on. So this is based on my experience. So if we put in this structured way, basically it will help you to write a good introduction. So it should have some component of background and motivation information, maybe one paragraph, okay, and also there should be objectives and scopes, problem statement and novelty, latest relevant references, and applications. Okay, so where it will be applied. For example, this work will be useful for solar thermal collectors, okay, in building applications or in energy saving. So there should have some application where this work will be applied. Okay, so if you put in this structured way, even though it might be difficult for you at the initial stage, but if you put in this structured way, maybe one paragraph for introduction and motivation and objectives, I'll show you how to write it, problem statement and novelty, latest relevant references, applications. If you put one paragraph or half paragraph or maybe half pages, and then this will help you to write a better introduction. So objective is very important. These are basically your aim, purpose, and goals. Where you want to go, what you want to go. Okay, so if you want to write any proposal, thesis, paper, so objectives are very, very important. Okay, so this is how to define SMART. Is basically, it should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be attainable, it should be result oriented, and it should be timely. So sometimes you put the objectives, you know, without thinking. Okay, so that probably will make you not measurable, may not be attainable, may not be result oriented, may not be timely. For example, you wrote objectives that basically is you are going to dream, you cannot achieve within 2 or 3 years. So it is not timely. And also you put something that basically will not produce any results. It's very unclear. It is very vague. Supervisors cannot understand. Others cannot understand. Okay, and it is also not attainable. So you put such a thing that may take 4 years, 5 years. So again, it is not attainable. Measurable. Some of the things like definitely you can measure, you can perceive, you can guess that this can be done. Okay, so these are called the SMART objectives. A smart way of writing your objectives. So these are theoretical way you learn yourself, but I will give you specific guideline. Okay, so these are called Bloom's taxonomy. Using this basically may help you to write. These are basically some action bar. Okay, as you can see, choose, apply, analyze, arrange, appraise. So you can select some of the word action bar from here by taking from here, and then you can write in the form of an objective. So what this slide basically shows you here, this is important because knowledge is very at the bottom level. As you can see, knowledge that is very bottom level. So you are going to pursue PhD and master. So your knowledge level and depth should be very, very high. That is like evaluation, synthesis, analyze. This is basically the purpose. You can select any one. For example, you are writing an objective. So I want to classify this. So classification is very, very, you know, the low level of achievement. This will not give you a PhD degree. This will not give you a master degree. Even this will not help you to write a good paper. Okay, so that's why you need to know the level of this knowledge, level of this word. So if you write something like appraise, assess, choose, compare, so these are very high level. Okay, then it will be up to the level of your PhD, masters, and paper. So this slide basically will help you to enter into level and depth of your objectives. So I always prefer to give you examples. So this is how I talk theoretically a lot of things, and you are undergraduate students, definitely you know how to write objectives, but not to write the proposal, write the papers and thesis objectives. So that's why this is basically I have taken from one of my students' paper. Okay, so as you can see, to analyze, so you have to start objectives with action verb. Okay, to analyze thermophysical properties. So now you can see it should be specific, it should be attainable, it should be measurable, it should be timely, and so on. So I have considered all those points with my students to write this objective. So as you can see, the analyze, yes, we know that what is the meaning of analyze. So we can analyze why fluctuating, why increasing, decreasing. So we can analyze, we can say something. Thermophysical properties of nanofluids. So we know that thermophysical properties are basically thermal conductivity, specific heat capacity, and viscosities, some behavior, some properties. We know. To develop a mathematical model. So to develop a mathematical model, this is very higher level. This is PhD level. This is master's level. And this also definitely will help you to write a good paper, okay, to publish in good quality paper. So this is how to write a very high level of objectives, okay, to validate. So that's why the previous slide, as you can see here, you can choose the word from here, higher level word, to write your objective. So these are the things also, if you put this Bloom's taxonomy in Yahoo, Google, definitely this chart also will come. Okay. So this is how to write the objectives with these examples. I hope you can write objectives in a better way. Also, finally, as you can see, to compare the performance of heat exchangers with water and nanofluids. So I have developed with my students these objectives, again considering all those Bloom's taxonomy and also that smart objectives. Hope you can write better objectives. Okay, so objectives is not that difficult thing. I'm sure that definitely you can write with this guideline. It will be now much more convenient for you. Second important element is your methodology. So how you are going to generate your data. This will be another important element for your proposal writing. This basically will address the question of how you are going to generate data, produce data, right? So that is basically the methodology. So when we conduct experiment, so we have a specific method. So which equipment we are going to use. When we are going to conduct survey, so how we are going to conduct survey to produce data, to generate data. Okay, so this is important part, and I will spend some time here to write a better methodology for you. So when we are going to generate data or we are going to conduct something, so it can be experimental work, it can be social science related work, it can be experimental work, and so on, as you can see. So analytical work, theoretical work, computational work, these are basically theoretical work. Sometimes we also use computer tools, for example, ANSYS, TRANSYS, COMSOL. So this is where we define it computational work. Also, we are very much familiar with the MATLAB, right? So these are the theoretical approach, or sometimes also called the analytical ways. Some mathematical model you develop, and then you use MATLAB to solve the problem, to generate the data. So this is what we call analytical, theoretical, and computational work. So you have to develop that details how you are going to do that computational analysis. Each and every details should be there. I did not bring each and every details like proposal, like thesis here. This is just to share with you that you need to write each and every details. But I'll share in my sample proposal. I'll show you some of my sample proposal that might help you to understand how to write methodology part. Okay, so there might be experimental work also. So if your work is experimental, so details of experimental design, list of the equipment and their purpose should be there in this section. So if it is analytical, theoretical, computational work, some details should be provided, how you are going to generate the data, what computer tools you are going to use, what is their capability, and why you are going to use this computational tool, and so on. Okay, similarly, some of the details of the experimental parameters, for example, thermal conductivity you are going to measure, which equipment you will be using, and what is the purpose, what is the accuracy, and so on. This little bit details of experimental details and parameters and purpose should be there. And methods for social science, I understand there are other disciplines also here, participants from other disciplines also here. I brought some slides also, particularly for them. I'll present in the next subsequent slides. So all these details actually I'll be sharing in my sample proposal. Another way also, as we have limited time during this talk, basically we cannot share each and everything. So best way is to, when you read original paper, thesis, so you see what's the content in the methodology. Okay, so when you have a paper, a model paper, so you have a look the methodology sections, steps and procedures, sample preparation. So each and every details you have a look, and then you draft your methodology. So when you are going to write the methodology part of your proposal, so that methodology part of the model paper will definitely help you to write a good proposal. This is how I develop my proposal. I fine-tune my proposal, I improve my proposal paper, and so on. Because sometimes maybe additional things are in the literature review paper. Okay, and find mentors, collaborators. As I mentioned, you are new, you are inexperienced researcher. Definitely you cannot write up to that level. It always will be good if there are some seniors, maybe some junior lecturers in your universities, maybe your supervisors. You talk with them, you discuss with them, get some help them, and particularly those who are active in research. Okay, definitely that will be good. And those who are not active, basically they will not help you. So that's why it is important to make some good connection. Also, when you are doing your thesis, always try to select the supervisor, those who are active. If your intention is to pursue higher studies in overseas countries or even in locally. So these are the method in social sciences. So there are quantitative method, there are qualitative method, there are mixed method. Okay, so each and every details you need to put in your methodology part as much as you can. Again, as I mentioned, you read the methodology part of some of the model paper, and then you refine, fine-tune, and improve. So these are the key ways to collect the data: quantitative data collection, qualitative data collections. Okay, this one I have taken from one of the social science related students. So there are survey work, social science related, then you need to put the interviews, focus group, participant observation, representative sample size. So this will make your methodology part in social science much more better. So expected results, since you are trying to develop a proposal, so what would be your expected result? I'm sure that your supervisor, and since I'm also the supervisor, so I will be looking for what you are going to produce, what you are going to generate at the end of this master's or PhD work. Okay, so for example, these are some of the examples so that it can help you to write something also. What would be your expected results, expected outcome? For example, you will be working on solar PV system. Okay, and as you know, the cost of solar PV is very, very high. It is one of the challenges, right? Cost is very high. So if you can develop a low-cost solar PV system, I think that will be a good research. So at the end, you will develop a solar PV system that is that's cost is low. Okay, that can be one outcome. And low-cost material. There are many materials. You know, some are very expensive, some are cheap. So you develop a new materials, and it's also cheap, and its performance is also good. So that can be also one of the expected outcome. Energy efficiency of PV system. So for example, you improve the efficiency of PV system by 2 to 3%. Okay, so that's also one of your novel findings. So here I put all the findings are novel findings, original findings, unique findings. Okay, so this, if you write in this way, definitely it will entice your supervisor, because your proposal will tell that how strong, how good your proposals are. Even though it cannot be up to that level, but you still can write some of the interesting things that may entice your supervisor, and he or she maybe will be pleased to consider you as his or her PhD and master students, or probably you may get also scholarship. Okay, and experimental results, as I mentioned. So sometimes it's not only this experimental result, but there can be also policy documents, because if you work in the social science, so you are developing a policy document that might be useful for the country, that might be useful for certain community, that might be useful for global community, research communities. Okay, so I think that those are the important things also. Sometimes maybe prototype, IP, intellectual property, patent, these are same thing. So these are the outcome basically will be very good if you write in your proposal. Okay, even though you don't know much, you are not sure yet, but you may write that this is because you mentioned there are expected results. There are possibilities that you can generate IP, you can generate prototype, and so on. Okay, and of course, there should have some outcome in the form of ISI, Scopus, index papers. This should be your major focus. As long as you can write some good quality papers, I think then you are also good researcher. Your topic also will be good. Your thesis also will be good. But of course, you can also, if your works are breakthrough, you are very good students. Okay, you are highly potential students, and you like challenges. Of course, you can generate prototype, IP, patent, and so on. Even technology readiness level of 4 or 5, and that you can later, once you finish your master's PhD, you continue working there as a lecturer or academician and so on. Then you can refine that technology readiness level from 4 to 5 to 6, and then finally you can come out with the product development. Okay, so if you write some of the indication of that, what will be your expected outcomes, I think these are some of the things supervisor will be looking for, and at least he or she will feel impressed that, okay, these students actually knows what are these expected results, and this prototype, patent, papers, at least you'll be happy if there are some papers, because this will make you a good researcher. Project plan, actually I'll be presenting some sample proposal from my students' proposal. Okay, just be patient. Candidature defense, this is additional on top of writing a proposal. Let's say you are just new, you are applying for your master's and PhD, then you need to write that proposal. But when you are into the system, okay, you are already enrolled, you got your admission, and then after 6 months or 8 months, you need to defend your candidature, how you are progressing. Okay, because there is no theoretical course in most cases. Like in Malaysia, we don't have theoretical courses. Like in North America, there are some theoretical courses. So in that case, even though there are theoretical courses, but there will be again the component for your thesis. In that case, you need to show your progress for last 6 months or 8 months, how you have progressed, what you have done. Okay, only supervisor and you know. So the committee member want to know, because you know the supervisor sometimes can be very favorable to you, maybe reluctant, may not train you properly. So that's why in higher studies there are committees. Okay, so there will be committees. They will evaluate your thesis. They will evaluate your candidature content, some of the report content, what you have done for last 6 months or 8 months. They will be other than your supervisor. Okay, so there can be a chairman, there can be 2 or 3 members, and you will submit your report, and they will ask you to give the presentation. They will ask question, and they will evaluate, and then they will tell you that it is satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or you need some improvement. Okay, so that's why if you know how to defend your candidature at this stage through my lecture, at least you will be well aware, and you will know that I have to present something, I have to be well prepared, and I need to present something at the end of 6 months. So I'm sure that basically this will help you. At least it will be alerted you to prepare a good candidature defense report. So here basically they will be looking for critical review of your literature, because this is your literature stage. So normally in my case, I will ask my students to write a review paper within 2 to 3 months, so that knowledge is improved on that topics, and at the same time also he or she can publish a review paper, and this can be part of his or her literature part of the thesis as well, and this also will help to improve their knowledge. Okay, so how critically he or she has reviewed the literature, that component will be checked. Okay, and also the design of experiment, details of the experimental plan, each and every detail should be there. They will be checking, and some preliminary results if possible. If not, at least these 2 things, critical review of literature and design of experimental experiment, will be should be provided in more details here. So these are the additional things for your candidature defense, and also sometimes for progress report. Sample proposal I'll be showing you soon. So I'm active in YouTube, and so these are in Sabir's channel. So all my lecture notes are uploaded there. These are also our purpose. As you know, we want to contribute to the scientific community, particularly young researchers like you, so that you are benefited, so that you don't face difficulties. The problem that I faced when I was writing my research proposal, so that it becomes helpful for you, because I have 23 years of experience, and I feel if I don't share all these things, so you'll be deprived of these things, and definitely this will be helpful for many of you. So these are the purpose also we are trying to constantly share despite our limited amount of time. But I'm happy to share for your benefit, and I'm also glad to work with Sabir, because he has good intention to serve the society, community, students like you. So we have like-minded mentality. So that's a good thing we are sharing. So I don't have sometimes time to upload. So Sabir has his own team. This is how he is doing the great job. So collectively, basically, and some of you are also research ambassador. I think we are collectively learning and also serving the society. I think those are the unique things. Those are the things we are glad that we are sharing. So I'm also active, as I mentioned, in LinkedIn. You can see my profile in Google Scholar, Facebook, okay, and so on. Let me now share a sample proposal, because without showing sample, you can see now?
Yes, sir. We can see.
I always like to give some examples, as you have seen in objectives, introduction also I made it structured so that it becomes convenient for young researcher, junior researcher, so that they really can learn. So this is one of my students' proposal, Mahmoud Amran Kibriya. He was from CUET when I was in University of Malaya. So he wrote this proposal, but with my guidance. So that's why I say that you need to really communicate with your supervisors, mentors, collaborators. Otherwise, you cannot produce a good proposal. So recently, one of my Bangladeshi student also writing a proposal. So when I gave some ideas, he wrote the proposal, but it was not up to that level. And I gave some guidelines, and I sent some sample proposal. I engaged with some of my PhD students so that he can write a good proposal. And at the end, he wrote the proposal, but overall, I was happy. And then finally, I gave some additional comments, and finally, he was successful to write the proposal. Okay, so what you can see here, so his name, he put it here. This is his proposal. Topic of the research, as you can see. So, exergy analysis of phase change material for energy storage system. Okay, so this is a clear cut. It is not that complicated title. Exergy analysis of phase change material for energy storage system. Okay, it's not that difficult. And field of research, so it is energy storage, heat transfer, and something like that you can put there. These are the list of the supervisors. So when you are working, normally there may be main supervisor, there may be another second supervisor. So you can put their names there, and their aspect is basically who will take care of what. This was the format of University of Malaya. So at Sano University, we don't put that aspect. Sometimes you don't need that. Just put the name of the supervisor. That should be enough. So your aspect is not that much needed. Okay, but if you are applying in University of Malaya, but initial stage you don't need that. That one maybe at the final stage or at candidature defense probably we need to write that. Okay, so it's not big matter with that. And as you can see also objectives, I put it here with students RDR, but you can put at the end of introduction section also. Since this is proposal, you can start, because most important thing is basically the objectives. I will be looking for objectives. So this is one of the format also you can follow. So you see here to develop an efficient mathematical modeling simulation. Okay, so these are higher level of objectives. So he has followed also that Bloom's taxonomy with the action bar. Okay, so there are 3 objectives. So since this is a master's project, I think 3 objectives is fine. And objectives are also up to level specific, attainable, measurable. So since I was with the student, I guide him, the student, also to write these objectives. To design and construct experimental research prototypes. As you can see, he will develop the prototype also. Okay, heat transfer rate and so on. To study the effect of dispersed high thermal conductivity particle phase change material. So to study some of the things. So these are the 3 objectives. Yeah, quite achievable, measurable, can be understood. Okay, so this is how to write the objectives. As you have seen also, I gave some of the examples in my presentation also. And then background information, as I mentioned, you follow some motivational information, maybe 1 or half paragraph, as you can see here. Some importance highlight, put some references. As you can see, there are some references. He did not put the references here. I think that is one of the missing element. Maybe later he put in another proposal I can show. So he did not put the references. I think that is the weaknesses. So references, otherwise, again, it can be considered as a plagiarism. So references need to be provided here. Okay, and they should be latest and relevant, as I mentioned. And some of the things, new things you are going to do, you have to highlight. Novelties, problem statement. What's the problem in this area? For example, the energy storage is a global problem. For example, in PV system, if we can store the excess heat, it will be something good. So some of the problem you identify, and then how you are going to solve and where it will be applied. Okay, this phase change material is applicable in building energy storage to store the excess heat from PV system and so on. So this is some background information, as you can see. So 1 to 3 paragraphs. Okay, yeah, maybe 1.5 pages sometimes should be okay. And then the methodology part. So methodology part, how you will start? You will start with the literature review to understand the topics. So various types of theses, books, journals will be studied, and you will improve the knowledge, and you may publish that as also a review paper. And then you are going to develop a mathematical model, maybe using Simulink or MATLAB, so on. Then optimization, further improvement. Okay, so these are some of the things, and the flow chart also. You can put your flow chart of all the activities, research methodologies. And this is actually the plan, as I mentioned. So basically the timeline and the activities. Okay, the phase 1, the duration, and what are the activities actually. Okay, so up to 1 to 4 months, you will do the literature review and gather research materials, consumable, equipment, setup, buying the equipments, and so on. You will get ready within these 4 months. You will complete literature study. You will publish at least you will submit a review paper, and also you will gather your research materials, consumables, chemicals. Okay, and certain part of your experimental design. Phase 2 is actually, as you can see, it can be overlap also. So from month 3 to 10 months. So understanding the thermophysical properties of nano-PCM, consulting heat transfer, design of experiment, many things can be done there. So these are the various phases with their activities and so on. What are the equipment will be needed? Okay, so these are some of the equipment, as I mentioned. You need to highlight also. If there are funding, you can mention. He did not put the references in the inside text, but he put the references here. Okay, so I think that's all. Okay, I think, yeah, we have discussed enough. Yeah, okay. So this is again, if you need to communicate with me, so this is my email address. You can send me email. You can find me in Facebook, LinkedIn. So Facebook is much more convenient. You can send me email also.
So it was a wonderful presentation, and actually I was giving utmost attention, and it was really very much lively, and I got to learn so many things. So I'm really very eager to see the sample.
Okay, Jashia.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable speech.
Thank you.